Hey, how you doing? Coach Brandon here, and today we'll go ahead and go over a lot of the videos that you sent over. You sent over quite a few, which is great. That's exactly what we're looking for. But sorry, I'm a little late on the update. Kind of took off some time during Christmas break. Now we're going to be back to a regular schedule, so communication should be a little more consistent. Looking at your actual videos, I definitely know some things we can improve on that are really simple fixes. Starting out with the squat. So let's go ahead and turn this bad boy around. Looking at your first video here. So actually, before I even get into this, I'm going to look back at me. The biggest mistake people make, it's very, very common when they ascend in the hole of the squat. Right when they're sitting up top, through the relaxed position, and as they're about to break at the hip or the knee and actually squat down, the first thing some individuals do is they go into what's called the lumbar extension. So they'll actually take their lumbar area, their pelvis, and they'll twist it out. So instead of hinging by sitting back by hinging, they'll go ahead and go into extension at the lumbar and lose all the bracing capabilities we have in the midsection. It's considered an energy leak. It changes our ability to produce force. And one of the biggest things it does is it changes the length-tension relationship of muscles downstream. When we go into lumbar extension, what actually happens is it lengthens our hamstrings, shortens our quads, and it messes with all the smaller muscles in our hip. Oftentimes people have TFL pain or strains from that. So it causes a lot of issues and mitigates ability to produce force by very big amounts. And kind of give you an example here the best I can of what that looks like. But lumbar extension, what's going to look like, we set up in the squat. Ideally, we're hinging right here. So I have a barbell on my back right now, and I'm going to hinge as I squat down. But lumbar extension, if we actually extend up our lower part of our back, it's going to look like this. And the second we do this, we end up usually with flexion on the bottom, and we lose all those things I talked about. And right now, the way that you start out your squat with every single set is by going into a lumbar extension. And keep in mind, the second we do that, length-tension relationships are changed. Our ability to brace is significantly reduced, and a series of other things in power transfer and safety of certain muscle groups is greatly compromised. So what we really need to do is get you better at your hinging mechanics and also breathing and bracing a little bit as well. And that's probably the biggest note I have with things across the board. Looking at the squat, though, this is what I actually mean. You notice at the top here, first thing that happens is you go into extension right there. So if we go back there, first thing that happens, extension. And that usually ends up with flexion on the bottom as well. This isn't quite as bad with the flexion, but you'll see that extension in your lumbar greatly affecting your power production as you send the hole, and you won't be able to brace this effectively along with those other things that we talked about. And that's pretty consistent across all of your lifts right now. Even your heavier ones at 375 for 3 reps. The first thing that we're doing is we're going to lumbar extension. Boom, right there. Which we had a little bit of flexion on the bottom there as well. So this is going to be a deeply ingrained motor pattern. This is probably something you've been doing for a really long time that you haven't really thought much of, but it's going to be very deeply ingrained. So what we need to do is we need to incorporate some tempo reps. And what I mean by that is about 4 count eccentric, 1 count pause from the bottom on your workups for the next few weeks. So let's say you're doing 3 sets of 5 at 350. The entire time you're working up 135, 225, 275, 315, and when you get to your working weight, before you get to your working weight, on all your workup sets, I want you to really dial in and practice hinging mechanics, which I'll send you a few videos of, on top of breathing and bracing principles. And more than anything, we're going to do those nice slow tempo reps on all of your workups so you kind of dial in the new pattern. Because again, this is going to be deeply ingrained. You've likely gone into extension at the top of your squat for a really long time, so it's deeply ingrained motor pattern, and now we have to change that, and tempo reps is a great place to start. So again, 4 count on the way down, nice and slow, practicing hinging mechanics, and then 1 count pause on the bottom, fire up. Once you get to working sets, do whatever the actual program entails, but doing those is going to greatly help kind of dial in that new pattern and make it so that that doesn't happen anymore. So that's probably the biggest thing I have to note on anything. We'll also look at deadlift real quick too before I let you go. So the deadlift, the first thing I have to notice here before you actually do it is your foot position. So you'll notice that ideally, rooting is such an important concept in any lift here, but you'll notice at the top here, our feet are lifting up, they're inverting quite a bit, and we're not having proper rooting mechanics as we actually go up. So there's two reasons for this. First and foremost, I'll send you a few good videos on this, but we need to get better at actually building tension. The concept there is that by the time that you actually get into proper position, you have work to get there. So you'll notice that really good elite level deadlifters will actually start in a fairly relaxed position. They'll brace. They'll pull the barbell in, contract their lats because lats are a spinal stabilizer, and then they'll push their feet through the floor, cause that bar to bend a little bit, and have it bend more and more and more as they slowly hips and chest up, hips and chest up. And by the time they're in perfect optimal position, the bar, all the slacks have been taken out of the bar. The bar's completely bent, the weight's starting to come up, and then they fire up. But the concept I want to get across here is that working to get in position should be the hardest part of a deadlift. The harder you work to actually get into position, the easier the rep of the deadlift is going to be. That's a concept that goes without sound, or like goes throughout all lifters, even elite level lifters like Chris Duff. And the hardest part of his 1,000 and something pound lift for 2 or 3 reps was the tension building portion. So really working on getting a little bit better at building tension for 1, and 2, I would really like you to consider changing shoes as well. Right now, so we have to understand the concept that our brain has this amazing anti-injury mechanism. What it does is when it senses an instability in the foot, it refuses to recruit nearly as many muscle fibers, and it won't produce as much force. On top of that, stability is going to greatly go down from having lack of stability in the feet. We have to understand that most shoes that we wear, typical general population people wear, are going to be shoes that create instabilities. So let's say we are deadlifting in some kind of shoe with a really soft sole that also takes your feet, which should have natural spread to them, and crunches them up like this. And all of a sudden, we're rocking back and forth. The soft sole of the shoe creates an instability sense in your mind, and it reduces the amount of muscle fibers you recruit. And it's going to mess with your motor pattern as well as creating instabilities just from rocking back and forth and just not having the proper shoes. So kind of what I'm getting at here is minimalist shoes is always what we suggest. Minimalist shoes are the best shoes you can get, and they are fairly cheap. So something like Notorious lifts, which you'll find on Instagram, only $30. A nice pair of Merrells you can get on Amazon for like $50, and you can walk around all day with them. They're really comfy. But something like that, or my favorite is just going in socks or barefoot. This is the best way to start squatting and deadlifting, in my personal opinion, along with opinion and philosophies here at Kabuki Strength. So definitely suggest investing in some kind of minimalist shoe. But until then, deadlifting in socks or bare feet is going to greatly help with the instability factor that's happening right now in your deadlift. So 3 big things with the deadlift, just to kind of recap. 1, getting better at tension building. 2, going to be wearing a better shoe or socks or barefoot, so we don't have those instability issues. And lastly, one that I haven't mentioned yet, I want you to take your feet that are fairly straightforward pointing right now and point them at about a 45-degree angle. This is going to help you get your hips closer to the bar and put you in a more advantageous position to actually lift the weight. I do want to cover bench press at some point as well. I looked at all of your videos, but I don't like to give too many cues at one time because it kind of sends people into overload. I know me personally, I can only handle like one at a time because I'm fairly simple, but let's go ahead and work on those more than anything. I really want to get rid of the lumbar extension and flexion that's happening in your squat. That's going to have a huge effect on how much weight you're able to handle, along with just having a better motor pattern. And then with the deadlift, it's going to be the things that I already mentioned, already talked about. And let me know if you have any questions on any of those concepts. I'm about to send you a lot of good content we have on KMS, on our KMS movement site, and should kind of help to illustrate some of those concepts and give you a few drills to work on them.